Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. It's Rebecca with Red True Crime, and we are getting closer and closer to the sentencing of Sean Diddy Combs. I know this is the third time I've been on here today to talk about this. So let's just say that this has been an ongoing and draining process because, the prosecution and the defense had to reposition and represent their arguments for why he deserved the sentencing that they suggested. So you've got the prosecution saying, "Look, we want him to get 11 years." And they gave all their reasons why they felt that his video and his letter to the judge was insincere, saying that he's a bully, that he is still a danger to society and to people who testified against him. And then you've got the defense who is pushing the story of he's a father, he's a son, and he deserves to be around his children and his mother, and the fact that is stating and they feel that he has learned his lesson, that he is a transformed person because he's been in jail for the last 13 months. And they feel that he should get a second chance and leave this prison and lead a life. And they've had many people speak for him on his behalf. So, people who have spoken has been two of his sons and his twin daughters have all spoken saying, "My father is a good man. My father's not a monster. My father deserves another chance. He deserves mercy." They've had one person speak out that is part of the reentry program saying that they felt he has been a good person in jail, that he has been teaching others to lead a life after prison. He's been a good role model. These are things that they've been saying. And then finally, Sean Puffy Combs took a moment to address the judge because they said we wanted him to let him have the last word. So right now I'm kind of filling time because the judge has taken the 5-minute break after Sean Combs has addressed the judge. But some highlights of what he has said. So let's see here. So he has said, "I want to personally apologize again to Cassie Ventura. One of the hardest things that I've had to handle is having to be quiet, not being able to express how sorry I am for my actions." This is what he says in a statement to the court. "I want to personally apologize again to Cassie Ventura for any harm or hurt that I've caused her emotionally or physically," he said. Then he goes on to say that he apologizes to all the victims of domestic violence. Um, he said, "Because I know that video, that disgusting, despicable video, it triggered a lot of people all around the world. Domestic violence will always be a heavy burden that I will have to forever carry," he says. And then he also says that he got lost in his journey of life, adding he was sick from drugs and out of control. Now, one thing his defense attorneys have said in their statements was that he suffers from PTSD and that his childhood trauma has led him to be a domestic violence assaulter and all the things that he's done, addicted to drugs and alcohol. I don't know about that, but that's something that his defense has said about him. And that he says, Combs addressed the judge saying his actions were disgusting and shameful and sick. He says, "I was sick from drugs. I was out of control." Added that he needed help and I didn't get help. And because of that, I can make no excuse, and I can really make no excuse because I knew better. My mother raised me better. I was taught better. My faith taught me better. I got lost in my journey of life. I'm not this larger than life person. I'm just a human being," Combs said. "I've been trying my best. I got lost in excess. I got lost in my ego. Because of my decisions, I lost my freedom. I lost the opportunity to effectively raise my children and be there for my mother." Yeah, we'll see. And then he also addressed his children, saying that they deserve better. But most of all, I lost my self-respect, he said as he addressed the court, that "I've been humbled and broken to my core. I hate myself right now. I got stripped down to nothing. And I want to apologize to my 7 children. You all deserve better." And then he went on to say that he's not this bad person. "I'm sorry to the community for letting you all down." And he has gone on to beg the judge for mercy. He's saying that people can change. I know I've changed. Um, he said sometimes life events change your trajectory, and sometimes no matter who you were before you get so shaken, it just changes your trajectory. It just changes you and it changes you for the better. And sometimes you have to go through life experiences, he said. These are not excuses. I can change the past, but I can change the future. And I ask your honor for mercy. I beg your honor for mercy." And he says he has nobody to blame but himself, and that he also thanked the jury for his not guilty verdicts, thanking them for their dedication, for their sacrifice, taking themselves away from their own personal time with their families and jobs to deliberate on his case. So right now, the judge has asked for a 5-minute break or has adjourned for a 5-minute break. So we're waiting on them to come back. Oh, we got a new update. Okay, judge begins addressing Sean Combs. Judge Arum Subramanian is addressing Sean Diddy Combs directly now. He says, wants to start by making clear that Combs being sentenced for the offenses of conviction, the Mann Act charges, and not the sex trafficking and racketeering charges he was acquitted of. Okay, which we all know that, you know. So the question is he going to get time served or is he going to get 11 years or something in between? Because the defense wants him to get time served. The recommendation from the sentencing board is 5 to 7 years, and prosecution wants 11 years. So what is it he's going to get? But he's addressing him right now. God, I wish we were in the courtroom. Wish there was a camera allowed in the courtroom, you know? So we're waiting and waiting, but the judge is back in there and he is talking to him right now. So let me know, guys. What do you guys think is going to happen? Do you think he's going to get time served? Do you think he's going to go away for a long time? What do you think he deserves? And what do you think is going to happen? I think he's gonna get some time. I think he's gonna get at least what the recommendation is at that 5 to 7 years because the judge made it clear he was not gonna stray away from that wasn't gonna deviate from that. Now, that doesn't mean he's gonna stick to that, but I think that means he won't go below that. He may go more than that, but he won't go below that. That's what I think. So we're waiting. He's still addressing him. So no update yet. This is crazy. Oh, got a new update. Update is judge says he's considered the fact that Combs inspired and lifted up communities. So Diddy Combs is a self-made artist and businessman who has inspired and lifted up communities and noted that his work and impact are celebrated and iconic. He said Combs' successes are even more impressive given the struggles in his childhood. Okay. So that's interesting that he's addressing, he's saying that. I guess he's just making it clear that he's not trying to be biased and, convinced that he's a bad person or something. I don't know. So let's see what happens, what the next update is. Because I saw the video that Diddy's defense attorney sent to the judge and, trying to make it look like that he is this family man and stuff. And I don't know. Okay, Judge DeCombs, the court has to consider all of your history here. Okay. The drugs may have exasperated your erratic and violent behavior over the year. However, the court has to consider all of your history here. Ooh, that sounds crazy. So let's see. So I'm wondering what he means by that. All of your history. Are we talking like the stuff he's been accused of, where he's been charged with but never convicted? Like the shooting in the club. What are we talking about here? Like what history is he trying to include here? I would love to know that. Because to date, I don't believe Sean Combs has been convicted really of anything, other than what he's just been, what he was convicted of here this past summer. So, he's been accused of the shootings and everything else. He's never been convicted of domestic violence. So, what are they talking about here? So we're waiting. He's still, I guess, the judge is still talking. Still talking. All right. So we're waiting on more updates. So we're waiting. I guess that judge is really giving it to him or just explaining things. I'm not sure. Oh, new update. We got Judge says Combs' work history is impressive given the trauma suffered from his father's death. Um, Says that his work history impact on the Black community and entrepreneurship are celebrated and iconic, and that's especially impressive given the early violent death of your father and the trauma that must have left. And that's apparent 'cause that he talks about that. We've talked about that before on this channel about how I feel his father's death and how he died when he found out the truth really impressed him and really influenced him to be the person he is today. I really do feel that. So we're waiting on more updates. I mean, I'm shocked the judge is taking that into account, but hey, some days, on these channels when they do this, the judge says this big spiel, and it's like, just get to the sentencing. It feels like you're dragging it out. Oh, new update. Combs abused victims physically, emotionally, and psychologically, judge says. The judge also said there's no question that Sean Diddy Combs is devoted to his family. Judge Submarinian, however, said he rejects the defense's attempt to characterize the freak offs and hotel nights as intimate consensual experiences or just a sex, drugs, and rock and roll story. That's interesting. A history of good works cannot erase the power and control you had over the women you profess to love dearly. You abused them physically, emotionally, and psychologically, and you used that to get your way, he said. Judge added, I was sitting right here during testimony from Cassie Ventura and Jane being Daphne Joy. So let's see. I mean, they're bringing this out like in snippets. I'm getting all this from CNN, so you guys know where my information is coming from. Crazy that he brought that up. Okay. He should. I mean, he was not, convicted of any type of domestic violence, but I do feel the abuse he did to these women do play a role in the coercion aspect of what he was convicted of under the Mann Act. And I do wanna state, I misrepresented the date of when that went into effect. The Mann Act was actually like a white slavery law that went into effect in 1910, but it was used against the black boxer, not Robert Johnson, but anyway, black boxer that had a white wife and dated white women, and he would take them over state line for, dating purposes. So it was used. Jack Johnson, that was his name, and that was in 1913. So that's when it was really employed at that point. So we're still waiting on but the thing is, on that Mann Act, it's very vague and it's very open-ended, so you can really kinda convict just almost anybody of that if you really wanna push the agenda on that, on a federal. Because if you go with a person to another state and you're not married, they could technically go after you for the Mann Act. But, you know, but it's more about prostitution and you don't have to financially gain for that. It's all about taking somebody over there for illicit purposes. Over state lines anyway for illicit purposes. And that's where he got in trouble because he was bringing in prostitutes from other states into another state for sexual purposes, and that is the core of the Mann Act. Okay, judge is still we got another update. A substantial sentence must be given, judge says. Oh, wow. Okay. So, Samanian said the court is not assured that if Sean Diddy Combs was released, that these crimes will not be committed again. He said the acts of sexual violence are unfortunately common, and a substantial sentence must be given to send a message to abusers and victims alike that abuse against women is met with real accountability. Here we go. We're getting there. We're getting to the nitty gritty. So, what do you give him, Judge? I mean, I feel that he needs to be in jail, in prison for a long time, personally. I mean, Cassie Ventura sent us a letter to the judge stating that she's moved her family out of New York, that she is concerned for her safety, and I agree with her, she should be, considering what she went through with that man. Um, so, personally, I think he should be there for life, but what he was convicted of, a life sentence does not play a role in that, is not a sentence that he could get. But, maybe he'll give him the max. I don't know. Let's see what happens. A substantial sentence must be given. Must, not may, must. That's a key word there. Must be given. So what is the update? Waiting on the update. That tells me he's probably gonna go beyond what the recommendation is with that keyword, "must be given." A substantial sentence must be given. That tells me it's probably gonna be more than the, 7 years. I hope it's more than 7 years. Now, Diddy has said multiple times that he could not handle being in jail much longer, that his psychological persona, like, his psych level, he might end up hurting himself, and that would be unfortunate, however, you don't do the crime if you can't do the time. So, let's see what sentence he gives him. We're waiting on another update. But him saying a substantial sentence must be given tells me it's gotta be heavy. It could be 7 years, it could be more. Let's see what he says. And that was the thing, 'cause, Diddy made it clear, he's like, "I hope you don't use me as a example to others." And I think that's exactly what the judge is gonna do. Because even when he addressed the judge, "Please don't use me as an example for others." That's what's gonna happen. So we're waiting on another sentence update. Come on, updates. People talk too much. Just get to it. Because if I was in this situation and I wasn't waiting on the judge to give me a sentence, I would just like, just give it. You know, I wouldn't wanna be sitting here waiting on all the whys and what fors. Like, if you're just gonna do it, just do it. Just give me the sentence and explain to me later why. 3 minutes ago, still waiting on the sentence. What's going on? Come on, everybody. Give us a sentence. I mean, he was clear. I mean, he listened. You know, the acts of sexual violence was very common in every one of his relationships. So there's no way for this not to be like this. So, oh, new update. Do we have a sentence? Okay, he says, the judge says John Diddy Combs' actions were serious offenses that irreparably harmed two women who still feel the effects today. The conduct occurred for over a decade with tremendous frequency over that time period, Subranian said. Why did it happen that long? Because you had the power and the resources to keep it going and because you weren't caught. Okay, so he's still making him digging in at him. And really? Sean Diddy Combs sentenced to just over 4 years in prison. I would have thought he would have given him more. Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced to 50 months or just over 4 years in prison for his conviction on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. 4 years. Wow. So yeah, they just gave the sentence right now. 4 years. A little bit, 50 months. I think he should have gotten more. I think he should have gotten a hell of a lot more. But this is what the judge felt. The way he was coming at him, I thought he was gonna give him like 7, but 50 months. So that is 4 years and 2 months. Now, is he gonna get less because, are they gonna credit him the 13 months for time served? So will he actually do less than the 50 months? Um, that's a question I have, but we'll see. We'll see what more they give him, but 50 months is all he got. Wow. I'm disappointed. I thought he would have gotten more. I really would have thought he would have gotten more. I was hoping that he would get the 11, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So he stuck with the recommendations from the sentencing board, from the sentencing report. Wow. Hmm. Sorry. This is a live reaction because 50 months? Really? Hmm. I have a no, Andy, he's doing 50 months. I've got comments popping up here. 50 months. All right, everybody. I'm gonna hop off here because I'm disappointed. I'm gonna see wait and see if more stuff pops up, but I will be back on later about this stalking case that ended in tragedy in New Jersey. But wow, 50 months. That's all he got. 50 months. Hmm. Yeah. Even if they take off the 13 months he's already done, he'll still do over 3 more years. So, I'm disappointed, but it's not about me. All right, everybody. So this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. I'm gonna hop off here. Be weird, be rude, be safe, and subscribe, like, and comment to the channel. As I always say, keep your head on a swivel and be careful out there. So, bye, everybody. I will be back later, and thanks for watching.